What's going on, guys? Aero here, and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the potential of getting brand new Pokemon types in Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. Now when the second generation of Pokemon released with Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver, we had two brand new Pokemon types which were added for the first time, which were Dark and Steel. And then after that, it took 4 new generations until we finally got another brand new typing with the 6th generation with Pokemon X and Y, which turned out to be the Fairy type. Now before we move forward with the video, I just want to let you guys know right away, I'm not saying that there's going to be a new typing with Pokemon Sword and Shield. I'm not saying that you should expect a brand new typing with Pokemon Sword and Shield either, because to be honest, I think that every Pokemon type right now is pretty balanced. I don't think that there's really a need to have any more types be added. I can agree that before, like with the Dragon typing, it did seem a little bit overpowered. Everybody was running Dragon Pokemon before the 6th generation, and so after they introduced the Fairy typing, that definitely helped to nerf Dragons, as we know that Dragons don't affect Fairy Pokemon at all, so I think that helped out a lot. But after that, I really don't think that there's any typing right now that everybody uses a lot so much that needs to be nerfed, or any typing that's like not used at all that needs to be buffed. But at the same time, it's also fun to just talk about what it would be like if we did get brand new typings inside of Pokemon Sword and Shield, and what those typings could be. And so in this video, I want to talk to you guys about 3 typings that I feel like would make the most sense if we were ever to get a brand new typing inside of Pokemon. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, so the first new typing for Pokemon is a typing that a lot of people always talk about and they always wonder why it doesn't exist, and that's the Light type. So a lot of people always wonder if a Light type would make sense in Pokemon. Usually in video games, whenever there's types and elements, and if one of them is a Dark type, there's almost always going to be a Light type to counter it. The best example of this is I'm playing a lot of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 right now, and even in that game there's elements, and you can have blades that are different elements, and they have light blades. You can get blades that are light based, and then you can also get blades that are dark based as well, and they both counter each other. Light is super effective against dark, and then dark is super effective against light. So now comes the question of, if we have dark types inside of Pokemon, how come we don't have light types? Now there's a few things to consider when answering this question. The first one is that I'm pretty sure that the dark type isn't even called the dark type in Japan. I'm pretty sure that it's referred to as the evil type. So if we did have a light type, saying that light beats evil wouldn't really make a lot of sense. So that's definitely one way of thinking about why we don't have a light type. Now the second thing is that I just feel like that the most recent typing that we got with the Fairy type was Game Freak's way of giving us the light type. I think that if there's one thing that we can all agree on, it's the fact that Game Freak loves to throw us off and give us things that we don't expect. We think we're getting a Pokemon Gray, but we don't. We think we're getting a Pokemon Z, but we don't. And so I feel like that Game Freak knew that if they were to introduce the brand new typing, a lot of people would have expected a light type because it just would have made a lot of sense compared to the dark type. And so they decided to give us something else, but still basically give us the light type, which is why we got the Fairy type. It also makes a lot of sense if you think about it. If we were going to be getting a light type, then obviously light was going to beat dark, and right now Fairy does beat dark, and we also have other things like the legendary Pokemon of the 6th generation. For the legendary Pokemon, Yveltal is known as like the darkness Pokemon, it's known as like the death Pokemon, and that's why its primary typing is dark. And then for Xerneas, it's known as the Pokemon for life, it's known as like the light Pokemon, the pure Pokemon, and the typing for that is Fairy. So I definitely think that the Fairy type is their way of giving us the light type. I think it also makes a lot of sense with the other typings that they're connected to. I mean, Poison and Steel basically got a big buff from having the Fairy type introduced, because now Poison and Steel both end up beating Fairy. The next type that I want to talk to you guys about is the Magic type. Now Magic type is also another one that I know a lot of people talk about in terms of having a brand new typing, and for this there's also a couple of things that would make a lot of sense for it. The first one is that there are a couple of magic things that make sense in the Pokemon universe. We do have the Magician ability, and then there's definitely Pokemon that possess like magical powers, so it would make a lot of sense to have some Pokemon become magic types. I think that one Pokemon that this would make a lot of sense for is Delphox. Delphox literally carries like a magic wand with it, so it would definitely fit the magic type perfectly. So there's definitely things with the magic type that would make sense, but personally I just feel like that the magic type is already kind of represented with the psychic type. I mean, psychic Pokemon are already known for doing ridiculous things. There's episodes of Pokemon anime where like Ash and his friends get transported into a different universe because of psychic Pokemon playing tricks with them. So they already do crazy things like making people float and all of that. So I feel like that magic is already kind of represented with those psychic Pokemon. If magic and psychic type both existed, then I feel like a lot of Pokemon would just end up being magic and psychic type. And finally, the last type that I want to talk to you guys about is the one that I think would make the most sense if we were ever to get a brand new typing for Pokemon, and that's the Sound type. Now the thing for the Sound type is that there's actually many things in the Pokemon universe that would make a lot of sense for having a Sound type. The first one is that there's straight up an ability called Soundproof that allows you to be immune to all moves that involve sound. And so speaking about those moves, there's a whole list of them. I'll put it up on screen right now, but there's a lot of moves that are sound based. We've got like Hyper Voice, we've got Uproar and Supersonic and Bug Buzz. So there's a lot of moves that would fall under a sound type category. And so if we did have a sound type, they'd probably change this ability so that you're immune to all sound type attacks, kind of like how Levitate you're immune to everything that's ground. This would just make you immune to everything that's sound type. Now in terms of Pokemon, there's definitely a few Pokemon that would fit the sound typing very well. I think the entire Whismur line definitely makes a lot of sense for this. Whismur, Loudred, and Exploud are all definitely sound-based Pokemon. Chatot would also make a lot of sense for this because it's a parrot that mimics a lot of sounds. Zubat, Golbat, basically any bat Pokemon I think would make a lot of sense because of how it uses like Supersonic and a lot of moves like that. So Noivern would also fall under this. And then there's also other Pokemon like Chingling and its evolution, I forget the name of it, but Chingling is like a bell Pokemon, so that also makes sounds, and I feel like it would fit the sound typing very well. The only issue with this type is that I feel like that there aren't enough Pokemon to have its own sound type. Like I did mention a few, and I might be missing a few as well, but I really don't think that there's enough Pokemon to have its own entire sound type. I think that they would definitely have to make a lot of the Gen 8 Pokemon be a sound type if they really wanted to have sound type as its own separate type. And also another thing is that if moves did become sound type moves, it would definitely impact how they do in battle as well as competitively, and I don't think that this would be good for certain Pokemon. Like one move that's used a lot in competitive play is Hyper Voice. It's definitely used a lot in double battles, and this would definitely be one of the moves that would get changed from being a normal type to a sound type, and this could definitely impact Pokemon like Mega Salamence as well as Sylveon because they all run Hyper Voice because of their ability. Now if you guys don't know Mega Salamence and Sylveon's ability, they have Aerolate and Pixelate, and if you don't know what this ability does, what it does is it turns normal type moves into stab moves, and then it allows you to have more power with them. So that's why they use moves like Hyper Voice, because they turn that normal type move into a fairy type move and into a flying type move, and that allows it to have even more power and do a lot of damage. But like I said, if this move did become a sound type move, then this ability would no longer work for it, and that could definitely impact this Pokemon a lot in competitive play. And so those are the three typings that I feel like would make the most sense if we were ever to get a brand new typing inside of Pokemon. But I also asked you guys on Twitter as well for your suggestions on what you think would make a lot of sense for a brand new typing inside of Pokemon. So let's take a look at some of your responses. Alright, so Ray here is saying that there should be a demon type, and he's saying that it should be strong against fairy, ghost, ice, and grass, and resistant to psychic, dark, poison, fire, rock, and then weak to bug, steel, fighting, ground, and water. Now a demon type does sound kind of cool, but I think it'll be hard to decide which Pokemon would be considered a demon type. Like would it just be Pokemon that are extremely evil like Giratina and Pokemon like that? Or like what would you do to consider what a Pokemon would be that's a demon type? So that's like what I think would be hard, but it would be a kind of cool type to have. Extremely Tired here is saying, I'm seeing everyone put light and I agree, it would only make sense as we already have dark types. I feel that if there was a light type, many current moves would have to turn into a light type move, such as Solar Beam, and so yeah, I think a light type would be pretty cool. And I do agree with you, I think a light type would be pretty sick to have, but the thing is, I feel like Game Freak already did give us a light type with the fairy Pokemon, but I do think that there's many Pokemon that would fit the light type category. I think Necrozma is easily one of those Pokemon that would easily become a light type Pokemon, but also like what you said with the moves, like if Solar Beam did become a light type move, that would impact how it's used in competitive play because a lot of people use Solar Beam as a grass type move, it's a powerful one, and they use it with like the Power Herb, so they'd have to switch a lot of things. Maybe they could make that like a dual typing move where it's a grass and a light type move. I think the only dual type move that we have right now is Flying Press, which is a fighting and flying type move, so maybe they could do a couple of light moves and then also like what typing the move actually is right now. But yeah, I just don't think a light type can happen because we already have fairies, but it would be pretty cool to have. Colin here is saying a sound and music type, not sure what it would be weak or resistant to, but the Loudred line would become sound type, and I talked about this earlier in the video. Sound type is really the only one that I think has a lot of things going for it. Like we've got a soundproof ability, we've got many moves that are sound based, they're sound based Pokemon, so I think that sound is like really the only one that has the most chance of happening if we ever did get a new type. But yeah, I do agree that sound would be pretty sick to have. Dank Memer is saying a beast type because it would be unique and not too niche. Also, it was in the Gen 1 code if I'm correct. I don't know if it was. I mean, that would be pretty cool if it was. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'll put it in like the editing phase or whatever if it was in the code. But that's pretty sick to have if there was a beast type. I think once again, it would just be kind of hard to determine like which Pokemon is considered a beast and like which Pokemon is not considered a beast. And you still need to have like a good amount of beast Pokemon as well. Like you can't just have like 10 Pokemon that are beast type and not any others at all. So it would be kind of hard. They'd have to develop a lot of Gen 8 Pokemon to follow a beast typing so that it's like balanced with all the other types, but it will be a kind of cool type to have. Masked Warrior saying a star type maybe or a space type will be strong against fire since there's no oxygen in space, and weak to steel since there's a lot of metal junk in space. That's actually really creative, and I think it would be pretty cool to have a typing like this. I mean, there's also a lot of space-based moves that we have that would become a space type move, I guess, like Spatial Rend is one of them, Meteor Mash, Cosmic Power. A lot of these moves I think would definitely fit that space typing very well. Ethan here is saying maybe a plasma or cosmic type, strong against electric, fire, grass, and water because of nature and conductivity, and weak against steel, fairy, and dragon because of innovation and legendary/mythical Pokemon. So this is also a pretty interesting theme. It kind of goes along with like that space theme that Masked Warrior was saying, but I think it would be kind of cool to have a plasma or cosmic type. Adam here is saying that a new type would probably be sound. That makes the most sense. Like I've said before, the sound type is really the only one that has so many things going for it that would make sense for it to actually be its own type. Moshi Unicorn is saying a space, sound, or light type. So like I said, light type and sound type are really the two ones that I know a lot of people always talk about, and so I did talk about those earlier in the video. A space theme is also one that I think a lot of you guys have said on Twitter here, but I didn't really think about it, and I think that's also a pretty interesting one. I mean, like if I actually thought about it, there is a lot of space-based Pokemon, like Pokemon that originated from space like Deoxys, Rayquaza lives in space. I mean, we've literally got space Pokemon with Palkia, and then there's also a lot of like Pokemon that come from like the moon supposedly, like Clefairy, so a space type could actually work as well. And finally, Random here is saying that I think it would be either a cosmic or sound type because there's a bunch of Pokemon and moves that fit into that category, and like I mentioned earlier in the video with sound, there's a lot of things going for it, and then for even space, like I said before, like we've got a couple of space Pokemon that apparently originate from space, there's a lot of space-based moves, so even space/cosmic could work I think as well. So that's going to do it for all the Twitter responses. Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry I couldn't read all of them because I do get so many of these, but remember, if you guys ever want to be featured in videos like this, just go and follow me on Twitter at @ActualAero. And so there you go guys, those are like the potential new types that we could see if we ever did get a new type in Pokemon. Like I said earlier in the video, I really don't think we're going to see a new type with Pokemon Sword and Shield. We probably won't see a new type for a long time, but it is fun to talk about things like this, so I did want to talk about it with you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, then please be sure to click that like button, and also comment down below and let me know what you guys think of this. What do you guys think of some of the types that I said? Light type as well as magic type and sound type. Do you guys agree with some of those? Do you have other typings that you think would make a lot of sense? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. If you're new to this channel, then please be sure to subscribe. I'm definitely going to have some more Pokemon content in the future, so please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Click on that bell to become a part of the notification squad. Go follow me on Twitter at @ActualAero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Xenoblade, so definitely be sure to join that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.